Oh, yeah.
Hey, you are finally. ¿Cómo
I am
estás, Salvatore?
sorry, guys.
No.
I am a dinosaur when it comes to things like this.
I make sure, Salvatore. I'm very new with this as well. Don't feel bad. It happens with Francesca too.
Okay.
But luckily we fixed it. So I was doing your highlights on introduction in your
Oh my God.
introduction.
Were you
Um,
selling me?
Yeah, yes, it was a big one. So I have yourself, book writer, bar owner, entrepreneur, TV ads with Michael Schumacher, um, icon in the cocktail world, creator of new modern classics. You are the creator of the new liquor of Aqua Bianca as well, which we're gonna be talking about it. And yes, your amazing line of barware. I love your cocktail shaker, and I love your mixing glass as well. You should
Thank
use it,
you.
Mr.
I got a
Coco.
new one, by the way.
Yes, we're gonna be talking about the bullet, right?
The bullet, yes.
Yeah, do my homework. Yes, that one sounds amazing. I saw the video. You're gonna be talking about that one as well. Entrepreneur, the former president of the United Kingdom Bartender Guild. Yeah, your handfuls, Salvatore. So the one and only Mr. Salvatore Calabrese. How are you doing in this pandemic time?
Well, you can tell. Look, I brought a
Yeah,
beer.
yeah, yes.
I couldn't go in the shop so to get a razor.
Different look. I couldn't do my hair, so I just shave it.
No, I
There
will
we
not
are.
go to that extent.
No. We leave that for Peter. For Peter
Yeah,
Dorelli.
yes. He can count
So,
his hair.
yes. So Salvatore, so your beginning was at an early age of 11, right? Like in the Amalfi Coast, at the Hotel Regina in Maiori
In
village.
my
Is that
village.
correct? Maiori.
Yes, indeed. Actually, I'm going to show you. I'm going to. There you go. I'll show you some proof of that for all your listener. Can you see this? That's me behind the bar at the age of 12.
Wow, two-handed pour. You pour in two hands at the same time. Perfect
Yes,
pour.
at the age of 12.
That is amazing.
Two
Yeah.
Coca-Cola pouring. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That basically tell us your passion for the bar, for the I would say more for the bar. I would say like you are an amazing host. Your hospitality is like unbelievable, second to none. So I would do like and I think that comes from the roots from a very early age.
Mm.
Then you moved to London, right? 1980, is that correct?
Yes,
1980, and you started working at the Ducks Bar,
the Duke's Bar.
the Duke's Bar. Sorry,
Duke's Bar.
I just pronounced it wrong.
Breakfast Martini.
Yes, so that's where you created your perfect martini, right?
Yeah.
1985. Is that right?
1985, yes. Thanks
85.
to an American gentleman.
Yes. Would you tell us the story? Would you share the
Of
story?
course I
I've heard
will.
it before, but I love the story, and this story leaves a message for all bartenders hearing out there.
I think one thing you must understand that we have a duty, all right? It's all very well to say that I create incredible drinks, but what makes me, it's not about the drink. One thing I have done as a child, from a young person, understanding what means hospitality. Remember that we have two hands, right, that we use. But let's imagine the left hand is our art, is our skill, our way to know how to make incredible drink. So the genie of mixology, learning how to make a drink. But that doesn't give you the right to be called great at what you do. To be called great at what you do, you have to learn the other hand. And that is the art of hospitality, all right? Know how to host, how to make everyone feel special. Feel special, that means when they come to your home, because it is your home, they feel they belong into that home, all right? Because remember that this is what our art is. That's what our job is. We can make the best drink in the world, but if you don't give them the soul with that, they soon forget that. So it's about the experience. And this is what happened also with Mr. Delaplane. Mr. Delaplane, it was a customer who used to come and stay at the Duke's. And the first time I met him in 1985, he was staying for a week. And from the very first day, I noticed that he was a very particular person. That means he knew exactly what he wanted to drink and how he wanted to drink it. And the very first time he came to the bar in the afternoon, in the late afternoon, he asked me, may I have a very, very cold but very, very dry martini? And I said, of course, Mr. Delaplane, I will do that for you. So I picked up mixing glass, as you do, you know, the old-fashioned way, the old style. Remember that the martini, it should always be stirred.
Stirred, always, never shake it.
I refuse a part in James Bond movie, the Casino Royale, because Martin Campbell, good friend and good customer of mine, he used to come into my bar. One day he asked me, while he was talking to some friends, would you like to come and make? Of course. But I will not do that because I will never shake the martini. So thank you very much. So bye-bye, you know, in that respect. But to come back to Mr. Delaplane, he asked me to have a very cold and very dry. So what I did, I put lots of ice in the mixing glass. I put ice in the martini glass, in the cocktail glass, and I start to stir the martini, you know, the martini, a little longer than normal, right? Mm-hmm. So I provide him the first drink, the first martini, and he said, yes, it's cold enough, but it's not dry enough. Because obviously now the martini has a far dilution, okay? So he asked for the same again. And what I did a less cold and more dry. By that time, he said, yes, it's dry enough, but it's not cold enough. Mm-hmm. I always say it took God 6 days to create the perfect world. Mm-hmm. It took me 5 to create the perfect martini. But remember one thing, what we need to do is that if I would be an arrogant bartender and don't understand what hospitality is all about, I could easily say to this gentleman, I said, listen, this is the way I make my martini. You either like it or you don't like it. You know, if you don't like it, please, that is the door. Go and find the, you know, somewhere.
The one that you like.
You know, another bar to make the martini. But our duty is to fulfill the expectation of any customer request, right? That's what I learned from the young age. Whatever the customer wants, that's what we should do. We shouldn't lecture customer. We should actually oblige the people. And that's what made me, really, basically. So the second day I had the same scenery. You know, I used to make it very dry, but not very cold. I used to make, you know, but the third day I started to have a nightmare because I started to figure out, you know, how am I going to fulfill the expectation of this person, all right? That I could not make the martini the way he wants. Mm-hmm. So on the fourth day, so it was a Friday, like today, and here in the UK, it's very popular to serve fish and chips on the Friday. Mm-hmm. And on the staff canteen at the hotel was serving fish and chips. And there where I noticed a kitchen porter, he was very particular, much malt vinegar wine he wants in his chips. So he used to pick up the 1 chips at a time, move there and put 1 dash of this dash bottle of malt vinegar wine. I said, that's clever. Now I know how to control the vermouth. But how am I going to make it colder? Mm-hmm. At the Duke's at the time, I had the sink where I used to wash my glass. That's what I used to do, washing glass by hand for 12 years. I used to have an ice bucket, you know, picnic bucket, where I used to put my ice under the sink for 12 years. I used to have that same ice bucket, picnic basket, not very fancy bar, but it was a bar where everyone used to come. Yep. And then on the corner, at the end of this 6-foot bar, I had a little domestic fridge with a little, you know, little box, little freezer. You remember? That you open, big enough to put 1 bottle of gin and 2 glasses. And on the fifth day, when Mr. Delaplane came, he asked for the same again. Salvatore, may I have a very dry, but very cool dry martini? And I said, of course, Mr. Delaplane. But this time, so I knew I could make it dry. But I picked up the bottle from the freezer, and it was very, very cold. I picked up the glass from the freezer, and that was very, very cold.
Super cold.
Obviously, I put ice in the mixing glass, ready to do in the mixing glass. But somehow, by fluke, I said, the glass is cold, the bottle is cold, and I went directly in the glass, and that's where I create what I call, what you call it, the naked martini. I call it a direct martini, because it was direct into the glass. And then I lay the vermouth on top. Now, by laying the vermouth on top, what happened? These started the aroma. The vermouth aroma came to life. And then as you were drinking it, you know, the vermouth always stays on top, right? So he drank the first one and didn't say anything. He asked me for the same again, and I did it in the same method because he did not complain. Took one sip and walked away. And I thought, my God, this guy every day told me, yes, it's cold enough, it's dry enough, but you know, it's either one way or the other. But this time he just didn't tell me anything, just walks away. Okay.
Yeah.
A few hours later, he came back down and introduced himself for who he was. Stanton Delaplane, a very famous journalist who used to write for the San Francisco Chronicle, the Los Angeles Times, the New York Times, and there where he wrote about my martini and immortalized myself by saying, here I am in London, where I tried the best martini cocktail in the world, made by Salvatore. And the legacy started, because every time he used to come to the bar, we became to be more friendly, and he used to write about me more periodically, and people started to write about it. But Mr. Delaplane did not make just the Duke's Bar very famous, and myself, really as a bartender, that's where really started. But also another
the martini.
The martini. But a place he introduced the Irish coffee in America, you know, in 1954. Las Ventanas, the bar in San Francisco, famous for his Irish coffee. So Mr. Delaplane, it was really the beginning of my career. Although at the Dukes I did something else. I mean, you know, I'm a collector, a passion of history, and I'm an expert in cognac. I'm one of the world leading experts on vintage cognac.
And one of the biggest collectors, right?
One of the biggest collectors, yes. It all started at the Dukes, because when I was at the Dukes Bar is a very small bar. It was a very small bar. Now it's much larger. It's 4 times as bigger now. And I could only put about 20 people in that bar. And I used to work on commission, right? And remember one thing, you look after the house, and the house will look after you, all right? So the revenue of the bar was between £400 to £500 per week, so not much. And my wages, it wasn't that much. And so therefore I had to create and invent myself something that people could talk about the place, but also that I could sell. And I thought one day while I was at the bar, I was looking outside and I thought, here I am at the Duke's Bar, you know, very historical name, London, very historical town. And I have all this history around me. But what do I have missing behind the bar? It's a bit of history. And there where I thought it would be nice to give you the opportunity to few people in the world to taste a little bit of liquid history, but not something that is 50 years old. I wanted to sell something that it was 200-300 years old. The time when George Washington was just president of the United States, the American Constitution, or Napoleon was, you know, the French Revolution.
Yeah, even before, right?
No, even before. My collection was far back as 1760.
1730. Oh, wow.
And, you know, so...
Revolution was in 1789 it started, so it's like 19 years younger than the revolution. Wow.
Yeah. So what I did, you know, I started to do a research and trying to figure out what I could sell. I wasn't supported by my management because they didn't believe in me, but I convinced the owner to support me financially to buy these bottles. And my very first bottle of cognac was a bottle of 1914, the year of the lady, the beginning of the Great War. And there where I start to sell that by selling the vintage, the year, with cognac.
Wow.
With, you know,
The
and
history.
and just to tell the story short, I took that little bar from an average of £400 to £500 per week up to £10,000 a table.
Wow.
People from all over the world used to come to impress. So if you want to impress somebody, yes, you definitely could bring them to the finest restaurant in London, but they could find the finest restaurant in America, New York, or whatever. But if they wanted to give us something very unique, they would go in, let's go to this crazy Italian guy who sells liquid history. And obviously, with that, I became to be fascinating with the subject. I started to do a lot more study, and eventually I became to be an expert. And then eventually...
And you have your own book, The Liquid History with
There
cognac.
you go. Beautiful book.
Yes, beautiful.
This is in the British Library as a reference book. And today I'm also knighted. I'm a Chevalier de Cognac, one of the few people in the world to be knighted for cognac.
Wow.
And, so it's just to show you that if you believe in something, don't, go for it.
Find a way to accomplish. Because sometimes people have a goal or have a vision and they don't know how to get there and they give up too soon to that vision, when instead of trying to find different ways like you did, and making also a good point of what we're talking prior to that, hospitality, that it makes you who you are, not the ability of making a great cocktail, but just the hospitality. And that's what you show when you make your perfect martini. Instead of saying, well, I cannot, this is the way I make the martini. If he doesn't like it, then so be it. You said your pride, it's not ego, it's the pride of a bartender that you should have if you love your profession, of being like, I need to accomplish what the guest wants. And you got there.
Yeah, arrogance, it should never be part, or ego should never be part of our industry.
Absolutely.
Is hospitality, it's a word that we should be careful. It means care for the person that is in front of you. And you don't need to make the best drink in the world to care for somebody.
No.
In the old days, we used to say a barman is many things. Is a doctor at work, but we could fix many illness.
Psychologist,
a doctor, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have written 13 books, which most of them are very successful.
Yes.
My very first book is by 50, beautiful. Oh, Christian, thank you. Christian.
Beautiful book.
Well, that book sold over 1 million copies. That's it's amazing for a little book. A lot of people don't know, but that is one of the best-selling books in the world. Actually, the one
I personally bought 10 of them because I wanted my friends that they get into cocktails, they go into the transitions, they were doing flair, and I was like, you need to learn the classics, and here it is. And they would be like, yeah. So I just bought it and gave it to them.
One thing what made that book very successful, you got to understand, when I wrote that book, every book that I found, they used to write about the biggest dream for us as a bartender is to able to immortalize ourselves with a great cocktail that in 100 years' time, somebody can still talking about it. And that's what I did. When I wrote that book, I wrote with the mind that I want to make sure that the creator was mentioned, and the history and the story. And that was the very first book of its kind, before anybody else, right?
To give credit.
Right?
Yeah, to give credit
Yes,
to the critic. It is amazing, amazing.
Mhm.
So and that brings me to another one of yours that you have created a modern classic like the Breakfast Martini, amazing cocktail, super interesting. How did you come up with that idea to, okay, I'm just gonna add marmalade
Well,
to a martini and make it a breakfast?
well, the idea, what makes the breakfast martini very catching is
Hmm.
the name. Remember,
Hmm.
today we know better. My guys could teach me how to make incredible drink,
Hmm.
especially with redistillation, using rotovator, use all the technique in the world that totally confuse me sometimes, right? They can give me a genie, but this genie is not necessarily the right genie to create a legacy or to create a cocktail that can last the time, because we make it too personal, too many homemade ingredients. And remember, to make a classic, it should be easy to be made, ingredient that you could find anywhere else,
Anywhere. Hmm.
and not only that, also that the consumer can make it.
Yes.
Our
So,
customer. Now,
yes. Yes.
imagine Negroni. It's not just the bartender who makes it, it's the people at home.
Yes.
So my breakfast martini is that kind of idea. I have to say thank you to my wife in that respect, because when I create the breakfast martini, my wife sees me in the morning, and I'm not the cool person that you see me now, that it took me 1 hour to look this good, right? But in the morning, the only thing I want is I want an espresso. Give me a coffee and I'll be fine. And every day, my wife used to tell me, he said, why don't you have a breakfast? It gives you energy. It makes you feel better. And I used to always say, no, please, thank you. I'm okay. But one day I must have looked worse than worse because I must have a longer night than a normal. And she didn't do no more. She brought me a toast with a marmalade on top and she gave me a command: have it. Now,
Hmm.
if you're a very smart man, you know when to obey and how to
Hmm.
obey. And that's what I did. And the bitter, tangy flavor of the marmalade was playing with my taste buds. So what I did, I kidnapped the marmalade and I took it to work and got even more in trouble with my wife the day after because she was looking for the marmalade and was not there
Wasn't there?
to find. But then when I took it to work, for me, I had that journey in my mind of what I wanted to do, because obviously marmalade, orange marmalade, very British. Actually, the make of the marmalade was very British, was Wilkinson, um, and Son. And then what I started to think about what spirits I could bring with that. It had to be a botanical spirit, a clean spirit, with a presence, and that gin,
Gin.
very British. Then I started thinking about orange, to bring a little bit of sweetness, but the sweetness not from the sugar, because the marmalade already has sugar. So it
Hmm.
had to be a liqueur. So I brought control, orange
Control.
liqueur.
Yeah.
Then it needed a little bit of sweetness to cut the,
That's the sweetness.
the sweetness and the bitterness. And then the secret weapon or the secret ingredient was the bitter, tangy flavor of the marmalade,
Yes.
and that's what I
Yes.
create the breakfast
It,
martini.
it is amazing breakfast martini.
But we think that we always create something very unique. But then over the time, I find out that in a Savoy book there was a marmalade cocktail,
In the
which is totally,
1920s.
it was a totally different cocktail altogether. But
Hmm.
it's just to show you that sometimes great mind can think the same, right?
Yes. Yes.
And but mine was quite clever because the name was catching. The ingredient was very simple to make, and it's
Hmm.
very lingers, and it's a very delicious.
Yeah, and you can find pretty much those ingredients besides the marmalade. You can find them in any bar at any given time. But yeah, the thing is, it happens sometimes in flair bartending when someone thinks of a move and you think you created it and you are the inventor and the big creator, and someone else another side of the world is creating the same move or very similar to it. So creativity has, those things as well. But definitely yours was the most successful, no doubt about it. I have a few questions that came out, and this is a good one. At which time of your career have you experienced tough challenges, and how did you come around?
Well, I think it's from the beginning. I mean, the biggest and toughest challenge that I had, it was, you got to understand one thing. I started at the age of 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from 11 to 15, for 4 years, I worked in the bar with this amazing bartender who was really my first teacher. He taught me a lot of things, a lot of story. And but then from the bar, I moved into the restaurant. And there where I started to learn about the restaurant trade, but always in the summer holiday. In the winter, I used to go to school, and my biggest dream was to be an officer of a naval officer in the ship. I love the sea. I love the sea.
Yeah.
All right. And my dream was capped with an incident. I'm almost blind with my left eyes. On my left eyes.
Okay.
And I felt my physical test. So when I felt my physical test, I decided I choose to carry on for what I already was into it, the other passion of mine, hospitality in the restaurant and bar. So I started to go abroad at the age of 17, and I started to learn more. I went to Switzerland. I started to learn the old classic style, how to work in a restaurant, or how to run a restaurant. At the age of 21, but I've been always very eccentric. I've been quite a good leader. I always saw things different from anybody else. And at the age of 21, I was asked to be the maître d', restaurant manager. And I had
21,
yes. And wow. I had 27 staff under me. And the majority of this staff, they were the people that they taught me. So they were older than me.
Oh,
so
wow.
you can imagine how they took that. And the biggest challenge, so I took that challenge. I wasn't frightened. I never got scared of any challenge that came to me. I took that challenge. And I remember that the very first months, everybody used to call me Salvatore, which is it's almost like misrespect what you are. Yeah. Because in Italy, if you're a restaurant manager, they call you the Maestro d'hotel, Maestro.
Yeah.
And the name has always been Maestro. What can I do for you? Let's do whatever, no? But after 1 month, I showed everybody why I deserve to be their leader. I cut their hour of work. They made more money. They organized better, and I opened up a breakfast room that so now everybody had to start at 6:30 in the morning. Some people start at 6:30. Some people come later. The restaurant was much cleaner.
Yeah.
So I showed leadership. But then I had different challenge in all my life. When I opened up my first bar, Salvatore 50, that wasn't easy. Because it was my dream and my design, and behind the bar, I created my sink.
The sink that you showed me that one when I went there.
So I always try to resolve a problem. I'm always trying to. I don't just take a job as a job. I try to do anything that I think it needs a tweak. It needs to be better, more functional. And but one of the best thing is that I think my biggest skill that I have is to able to make people feel special. I always say that there is two types of customer that I should please: my internal customer and my external customer. My internal customer is my staff, my team. If they're happy, there will be a true reflection, a mirror, through the external customer.
100%.
So your job as a manager or as a bar owner,
Leader, yeah.
as a leader, is to make sure that everybody's happy with you in that respect. Remember that I'm no one really, Christian.
You
I
are the
always,
maestro.
well, yes, you can call me the maestro, but I am no one unless I know how to play the music. And the most important thing that there is, it is that the people who work with me, my colleague, right, love to play the same music that I choose to play. We are a chain.
Mm-hmm.
We need to create it. You know, the chain it's not about a single individual person, but it's about all of us.
Mm-hmm. It's the orchestra,
The orchestra, because
the
you know,
synergy that you create
of
in a
course,
place.
remember the bar. You can go to the most beautiful bar in the world, and you might not like it. What
Mm-hmm.
makes the bar is not the place;
It's the
it's the
people.
people, right?
100%.
And
100%.
you know,
And you, no, and you obviously you did an amazing job. I was at 50. I had the pleasure to be at 50, and you did make me feel very special, which is, and I never forget that feeling because you forget a drink. I don't know. I do not forget a drink either. It was a spicy martini, or maybe,
spicy 50.
yeah, the spicy 50 was amazing. But it is not only the cocktail, it's the way you make me feel. People might forget what you have done to them, but they never forget the way you make them feel. And you made me feel very special, and that's what you do with your guests, and I'm sure that's what they do at your bars as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm wondering, I how do you choose your team at the time that you're going to open a new place? How do you choose your team, and how long does it take you to make them understand your philosophy?
When I choose my team, the first thing I do, you know, obviously I'm interested to know how much they know, but that's
Mm-hmm.
not everything about them.
Mm-hmm.
I try to figure out because whatever they know, they can soon forget it. Because what I'm all about, I'm about to create an environment that they have to understand the most important thing of all, to know how to care. If they don't care, they can never be part of my bar. So I need to feel their soul. I need to, when I interview them, I need to feel what they are and how I can work with them, you know. And I've been blessed in that respect because I I am pleased that I teach a lot of people that are very well known today, and they made a career with themselves. You know, people like Giancarlo Mancino. He was one of my students for 5 years. I kicked his backside, left, right, and center. But he was an incredible person. You know, the only problem I had with him, he liked the women far too much, and he was always in trouble with that. But I could name many people, many bartenders that today they are somebody. And the most important thing when I look to them to make sure that they feel special. Remember that if you would work with me, Christian, the first thing I will do is to give an important, how important you are, right? But not just to me, to yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Uh, Making sure that you actually start to believe in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
actually believe that you are belong to the place. And that's what I always have done. So much so that I have people that they wait for me, they worked for me for years and years and years. Now at the Donovan Bar that we open next Monday, this Monday coming, I have, I have a reopener. I have Maurizio Palermo. He is my leader, right? My bar manager. And he worked with me for 5 years at the Playboy and he followed me. You know, he had an incredible job,
Mm-hmm.
which he was secure, but he decided to leave it because he know what I'm all about. And he is the boss. I'm not the boss. He is the boss. But then I have another guy like Federico Pavan, who for me is by far one of the best bartenders I know in the world. I think, if not the best. There is a lot of people that have impressed me but what Federico is able to do in a way of creativeness, or what he can create and make it happen, it's amazing. And he worked for me now for 7 years as well. And I took him from a young, cocky, and very, I wouldn't call him cocky because he's never been that way, but very
overconfident.
shy. No, very shy,
Yeah.
very, but now to be a president, to be somebody that deserves the recognition.
Yeah, he carried himself well.
Yeah, and then I take in people like a young girl called Cristiana, who she won the Amaro Montenegro Challenge, UK
Nice.
championship. She's only 24. So I take young and, I
You look for passion.
Development. For me, it's about, it's not how much they're going to know. They know now is how much they're going to know when
they're going to know when they finish. Okay,
yeah,
perfect. And it takes them long to realize your philosophy of work, of hospitality, of what for you is the most important.
When they work with me, they go into very restrict and tight training, and the training is most of all. We're not talking about how to make a drink, not the cocktail list, nothing as such. Not at the beginning. At the beginning, it's about the art of hospitality, to know how to make somebody feel, not to make him feel invisible. How many times you work in a bar, very busy bar, and everybody totally ignore you, and you totally feel invisible. I teach them how to react, how to read the room. So if my bartender working behind the bar, it doesn't matter how many people they have, 100 people in front of them, I want them to make the drink, by every 20 seconds, 10 seconds or so, they have to raise their head and just scan it with a smile, just scan the room, and there where they have to eye contact. I saw you there. Acknowledge, and that's what it takes.
That is huge. That is huge in bartending, in customer service, because also it gives a perception. If you don't acknowledge people, it gives them the wrong perception of timing. They think that they've been waiting for 15 minutes when it only really been 2.
Yeah, and not only that, the thing is, we are not chefs. We need to interact. We need to make sure that that whatever we do, we make somebody feel not invisible, special, somebody that he wants to come back, go to all the effort. And there is a lot of a technical aspect of hospitality that I truly take them. I take them to a journey to understand.
Nice. Now, Salvatore, would you tell me about your new shaker coming up, which I think is super, super cool, and I am excited. The bullet.
Every time I go around bars, I see a lot of bartenders. We use a lot of eggs now. Everyone wants to do a sour or whatever it is. They use egg white, and every time they use egg white, they do something that truly annoys me. All right, they do the dry shake. All right, dry shake. What it does, it actually helps if the egg white is not good or not 100%. The heat of your hand will make the egg white, the bacteria of the egg white come alive. So that I don't like it, right?
Okay.
But not only that, what they do, they splash themselves. Now, I understand they want to create a foam, they want to create a head, right? So I went and tried to resolve this problem. And what I did, I created a shaker, very unique, which has a spring. You see?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
that helps to break the egg.
You put 1 ice cube inside because you want to make sure that the drink gets chilled, right? 1 or 2 ice cubes, no more. And then you shut it, you close it, right?
Yeah.
Now listen to the music.
Beautiful. That is music.
That is the whipping, right? This spring whips the egg white with an ice cube inside. And when you open, The spring can be used, you know, you put a hold on, what do you call it, a julep strainer inside, or just a
Yep.
spoon,
Yep.
and you just pour it, and you have the perfect sour
Yeah.
ever. The egg white is completely even, formed, creates what I call the head. You got to understand one thing. When you overshake and you do a dry shake, the egg white, it doesn't form, doesn't get close, it creates air, it creates air. And when you mix it with the spirits, the whole ingredient becomes to be cloudy, right? The best sour it is that you see the spirits or the liquid that it is, and you have an even form of head that is tight.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which gives you consistency, the silk, the velveting aspect of the drink, and that's what this shaker.
The bullet is gonna do. And would you tell us where we can find it and when? Because I know
Very
it hasn't
soon you
come out
could
yet.
find it by Uber. Go to my website. You will see the link of the bar tools, all my bar tools. You know, the Calabrese shaker. This one.
Your website is salvatore-calabrese.co.uk.
Yes, or you can go to Urban Barware in UK. They are my partner for all my tools, for my mixing glass, my strainer, my bar spoon, as I say, my perfume.
Awesome. Yeah, the beautiful Calabrese shaker. I love that shaker. It's so classic. So it's like the Ferrari of shakers.
A perfect shaker. Look what it is.
It's a Rolls Royce.
There is nothing inside, right? Now look this.
Boom.
And you open.
Yeah, like nothing. It is so easy to open. It's so because a lot of times you have a hard time when they close and hermetically close. And you have nothing in there. So imagine when you have liquid, you just
when you open it, you hear the click.
Yeah, so simple yet so sophisticated. Beautiful. To give a little flair to it. Now, there's something that you mentioned in one interview that I saw, and it's something that it drives me crazy to see these days. Bartenders, mixologists, they do this a lot. They put the ice on the bigger part of the shaker, and then they put the small shaker on top of it, which to me is the same thing that they used to criticize about flair when bartenders strain with a small shaker or they put their hands into the shaker. That's unsanitary, and so is this. So
this is annoy me. If you notice every video that I do, the first thing I do, I shake. I put ice in my shaker and I prepare it. It's like cooking, right? I'm preparing my shaker. It takes 2-3 seconds. Just shake it up, chill it, and then take the bottom part, put it down, and now you make the drink. And leave the other part with the ice. This is cold. Now, remember today, especially today with the coronavirus, you know, COVID-19, we need to be careful.
Extra.
Remember, I went to a bar one time. I'm not stated the name. Very known bar, very well known. And the bartender, I sat at the bar, the bartender asked me, well, you know, Miss Maestro, what would you like to drink? I said, oh, whatever you wish, one of your drink that you like to give me. You know, I'm cool to drink. So he goes, makes the effort. He picks up the ice with his hand, you know, put it in shaker, break the ice, first thing, okay, fine. Put one big lump of ice in the shaker, not 2 or 3 or 4, to aerate the drink. And then he makes the drink. He shakes it and makes the drink. In the meantime, what he does, he takes money.
Right? The filthiest thing in the world.
Imagine the bacteria that you can't but pick up money. Then the next thing he does is shake hand to somebody, which is normal. You need to do that. Okay?
Perfect. Yeah.
That's what is hospitality. But please remember that that person might be in somewhere just before he came in, he sneezed, right? Bacteria.
It's all in there.
So what I'm trying to say, the hand should never enter here. I see a lot of bartenders, they put this part inside, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about what you do with your hand. You
You
touch
touch it.
the bottom of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you put that on the ice. What
Yeah.
you do, you contaminate
The
anything
ice.
that you have touched. Not because you're dirty, guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just because you don't think, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a responsibility to care and not to poison somebody or make him feel sick, only because you haven't thought. Even this shaker, the reason I designed this shaker like this is, can you see this eye? It sits
Mm-hmm.
inside, and
Yeah. It doesn't go all the way.
okay, and there's about 2 fingers
Mm-hmm.
from the top. You fill the ice shaker. Most of the time, whenever ice should go in the shaker, it's about 3/4 of the way.
Mm-hmm.
The top of these never touch the
The
ice.
ice.
All right.
Excellent.
So if you want to use that, then my shaker is a perfect shaker that it sits
To be able to
so
do that.
cold, but you don't contaminate the ice. I
Awesome.
think, I think it's very, very important that whatever you do, think about why you should not do it.
I see. I see. Salvatore, you have created with all your time that you that a few time that you have on your hands because you're a person that is so busy. You just created a new liquor with a collaboration with the Kuiper called Aqua Bianca, which is super for whatever refreshing, citrusy, floral, yet it has a freshness from the mint flavor. Would you
Um,
tell us a little bit about it?
I already created one liqueur called Liquore di Limone, which I'm very, very
Hmm.
proud of that.
Yeah.
So when the Kappa came to me, Mark DeWitt, the CEO, by asking me, he said, Salvatore, would you like to do a partnership with us? We'd like you to create a liqueur in any which way you want. Just create a liqueur. So I said, okay, Mark, I will. Of course, I would be pleased. Let's create something else. So my mind started to go, as always.
Hmm.
You must understand one thing about me. I'm very eccentric. So I started to think about what can I do to make the difference or to make it unique? Do I make a coffee liqueur? There is many good coffee liqueur in the world. Do I make a nutty liqueur, amaretto,
Amaretto, Francelico.
there is a many nutty liqueur, chocolate liqueur. Anything that I was thinking is been done before. And I want to make this liqueur very unique. So in the other corner of my study here I have a collection of shaker. Over there I have a collection, I have a little library with substantial number of books, old books, going all the way to 1700. So what I did, I was hitting a wall. I couldn't, I need inspiration. So what I did, I went through a lot of old books and started to look at other recipes or the old way they used to do liqueur. And in one recipe, the first thing I did was an old punch from the 1700, where I saw a word that I never encountered before, ambergris. Ambergris.
Hmm.
And I said, what is ambergris? And then I discovered that ambergris is very much used to make the best perfumery in the world, right? So Chanel No. 5 use ambergris or Gucci or whatever. What is ambergris? I know now I'm not going to make it feel. Ambergris naturally come from the wells. The wells or the sea sperm, sperm wells. When they love squid, whales love, especially, when they eat this squid have inside a bone, a pointed bone, right? And this bone can perforate the intestine. So the whales, what it does, as they eat the squid, react to those bones and create a coat around those bones, right? And then eventually, as he's spending his internal, eventually he spit it out naturally. It's not like you go and kill the whale, right? And these ambergris are like a golden nugget. if you think about 1 kilo of ambergris, if you find one ambergris, which is, it's got the shape of a stone, but very light, it costs anything up to $10,000. Yes. That's,
Wow.
and all the ingredients that there is in my liqueur, they're all natural. So the ambergris is naturally sourced. I want to know where they source it, when we buy it, and when we do our liqueur. So you can imagine how the Kuiper, when I say I want to create the most aromatic liqueur in the world, because that's what is missing in liqueur. Now, Christian, when you open up a bottle of liqueur, it might have the best chocolate liqueur, but go in and smell it. It's not like a fine spirit or fine wine. There is no perception of aroma. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to making sure that my liqueur has the same journey that the finest spirits in the world will have. So the first encounter is the aroma, and then the taste. Now the taste is done with 3 different types of lemon. One, lemon from the Amalfi Coast, because I am from the Amalfi
Coast,
which the citrus, it is citrus but fresh, right? Then I use a bergamotto because I am Calabrese, half a Calabrese.
From Calabria.
From Calabria. And my family there, they have also their own land of bergamotto. And bergamotto is citrus but floral, which is important. And then I use the oldest lemon in the world, which is citron, the big lemon, which is the very first lemon ever exists, which is citrus but bitter, citro bitter. Okay?
I see.
So that bitterness is important with the sugar. Then I use a floral note from a rose, okay, the essence of rose, which is extraordinarily expensive because I'm using natural rose, petal of rose. And then I use, I need a refreshing, I need something that it gave a freshness in the palate. And I decided to use a peppermint, all right? So the journey that you encounter with my liqueur, it is citrus, fresh, floral. And it's amazing. And the great thing about
very versatile, very versatile.
Very versatile. It can sit perfectly at the center of any cocktail. It works well. It works well with dark spirits and with light spirits. Most of the time, whenever you choose a liqueur, if it's, you use a dark spirit, you go for dark liqueur, right? Light spirits, you go for light liqueur. But this is very versatile. And the wonderful thing about my liqueur, when you're going through the journey, right, of drinking this liqueur, it's not gluing sticky in your aftertaste, but it's fresh. After a while, it disappears or opens your essence. And it's, I'm telling you, it is...
I cannot wait to get a hand on one of those bottles.
I am very proud to say that it's been awarded 2 gold medals in the Drink International Spirits Challenge. Not one medal, but 2.
Nice, congratulations. Salvatore, this is something that...
The most important thing of all, this bottle is designed by my daughter and her company, 5'8". And the great thing about this bottle and the label, when my daughter asked me, said that, and I asked her, Francesca, would you like to design my new bottle? She said, yes, Dad. And she said, where did you get the inspiration from? And I said, from a book. So very cleverly, she said, create or write by me, but published by the Kuiper. And this is the spine of a book.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Actually,
so have a 2-3 bottle and it creates a library.
Yes,
then,
yes.
I don't know if you can see, but the aqua, it's got like a little jigger in the middle. And the Q, I mean, I don't know if you can.
Let me see.
The Q is like 2, H2O, water.
Nice. Now
H2O.
water, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
H2O.
Nice. Yeah, so you have a lot of thoughts on bottling, design.
And the beautiful color.
And obviously, No, I can see that. Very catchy also.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be a killer, an amazing success. I have no
Well,
doubt of it.
I think so. I think because the
Yeah,
bartender, they're clever. They understand that whenever they want to create something, they want to use something or liqueur that it doesn't disturb the flavors, but actually enhance and
yeah,
help
yeah, and hence,
whatever
yeah,
you do.
absolutely, 100%. So, Salvatore, one more thing before we reach an hour,
Okay.
um, and is what can you share with the up and coming bartenders about how to handle success?
Well, again, please, success shouldn't go in your head.
Hmm.
Don't forget who you are, where you come from, and how hard it was to get there. Be humble. Understand, always respect the people that you're working with. Care for the people, for the future. As I always think that whenever I choose a bartender, that he doesn't know anything, and only because he's the bar back, it doesn't mean he's not important in my chain. It's actually one of the most important things that there is, and it's how you develop people and enjoy it. Okay, and the cherry on the cake is obviously the financial reward, and
Hmm.
the cherry on the cake is to be known. I mean, I open bar around the world, as you know. In Vegas, I had the Bound for 5 years, Bound
Cromwell.
Salvatore at Cromwell. I opened in China, in Hong Kong, Maison Salvatore Maisonette. So I have experience to know, to understand, um, as a businessman, what makes a good bar, and how
Hmm.
you control your cash flow, how you control it. The thing you must understand, always look at the penny, the things that cost less. Because
Hmm.
the things that cost less, it is the one that you use the most, and that is the one that will hurt you the most because you don't know, you don't think about it. But
Hmm.
eventually it will add up.
Yeah.
So look at every aspect, of your business. How, when you create your own home, what identity you should give.
Yeah.
Why? You know, what would be the motto, right? How I can make that. Remember, it's not for me. Obviously, I work in Mayfair. I work in luxury, and
Hmm.
always have done. But it doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
because on the end of the day, a place is a place. If I don't create the soul in the place, it's like what my friends say, the Peter Dorelli, once we walk into a bar and the first thing he said, there is a soul in this bar. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean? Stop and listen, right? So from the bartender to the customer, there were a beautiful, unified experience.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what it is. You're looking at all the details. I'm very particular. I'm very fussy. I look at people they sit, how they should sit, and why the chair should be this height, why the table should be this height, why I want that specific look and feel, and uh, look about everything.
Yeah.
But
All the
do not
details.
forget that you should not forget where you're coming from, you know,
Absolutely.
and
That's
how
that's
important the person next to you is. That means your team, because the team, if you create a successful team, then is half of your problem. I always care for them, and I
yeah.
still do.
Thank you, Salvatore, so much for your wise words. Thank you for your time. I admire you very much, and I hope people can get a lot from this conversation. It was
I hope
an
so.
honor to have you, and
It's a
with a
shame we
light.
cannot answer any question. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry you had a few